So I need to make this video because whoever is a psychologist, whoever's, this is sort of pretty confusing to me, to what the heck is going on with. This is about my sister Mikayla, and okay, so now I don't know, but I think that I worked with Mikayla's brother. I worked for Go Curb. Like, I think I was 35, had just got on disability. It was like 6 months after disability, right before I left my trip to the DMC competition. The DMC competition in London to go to attend. And I'm not a competitor, but I went there to give support and go there for the first time since I DJ so many years, right? So I was 35. It was right before I turned 36, or I could have been 36. I think I was 35. Yeah, it was right when I turned 35, before I turned 36. And I worked for this company called Go Curb, and there was two individuals that worked there. And it was, when I got in there, it was a car rental company that I delivered nothing but cars to airports. The majority, almost, I think, all airports. And when I was at this company, there was one owner, and the owner of the company was this half black, half white, very sharp looking guy, kind of model figured, clean cut, seemed pretty well educated. And but when I first walked in there, this was in an office building, and was it Plano? No, was it Plano? I don't think it was on Plano, but it was, I think it was like on the west side near like Grapevine. I think it was like near Grapevine or something like that. Sort of toward the west side of Dallas, the far west side of Dallas. It was like a 20-minute drive from the airport. And my job description was to take pictures, to go to these cars, put the miles, how many, because the company, what it does is basically people can rent cars, luxury cars, and there was like 30, 25, 30 different type of luxury cars. And my description of the cars, I would pick up, be told on a separate phone which cars to pick up. And I would pick them up, drop them off, and then I would pick up another car, then drop it off. And that's basically what I did for $10 an hour, which was, and these were high luxury cars. And some of these cars I thought were celebrities. I thought some of these cars were owned by celebrities, but anyway, they were all high-end cars, like Lexuses, Mercedes, Land Rovers, high-end cars. I think I even drove like a Land Rover. It looked like a $200,000 car. I don't know what they start off at. I don't know the prices of cars, but they were luxury cars, and they were all fairly brand new within a few years. Every car there was at least $60,000. Anyway, I'm working. When I first applied for the job, I go walk in, and there's this female, there's this girl, this is transgender, she looked like a transgender, little tiny transgender looking girl. And I don't know if this is for sure, but I want to say she said her name was Mikayla. I said, what is your name? Well, my name's Mikayla. And it was just a simple front desk. It was a very small office. There was just 2 rooms. You could walk into the lobby, and then there was an office room to the, once you walked in, there was one office room and then just a lobby. And when I got there, I filled out the application. I think it was like an application, but she said her name was Mikayla. So she said, oh, the owner, he isn't here today, but we'll call you, whatever. And this girl was probably, this transgender was probably like 21. Fairly, very young person. It was like anywhere from 20 to 24 years old. And I leave, I get a phone call from Go Curb, and this guy, this half white, half black guy, I don't remember his name at all. But I get there, calls me like a week later, says, hey, I got a job, come and interview. I interview, and he hires me, right? So I start within a few days or something. And when I get there, tells me what to do, says this is your job description, this is what you do, pick up the cars, and you fill them up with gas. And basically I'm like a chauffeur. I basically just drop off cars, wash them at the car wash, and then drop them back off. That's pretty much what I do all day. I even drove a Porsche that looked like a $200,000 car, but it was like a wagon Porsche. Anyway, whenever I go to the office occasionally just to sit down and talk to him, to tell him, okay, well, this is a new pickup car you got to go pick up, and then you have to take it to drop it off a mechanic or whatever it is. And I'm sitting in front, and I worked there a total of probably, I think, maybe 3 weeks, no more than a month. I worked there for about 3 weeks, and one of the days that I walked in there, I'm talking to him. It was maybe a week after working, and we're talking, and and I asked him, and he says, and I said, well, I grew up with two brothers, and my father was a World War II veteran, but I only grew up with two brothers. And, my mom's raising her kid. At this moment, I don't even know about the twins. I don't know about Julian being a twin, Marco being a twin, and my mom being triplets. So to me, it's just she's living in Garland with her boyfriend and raising her kids, right? And when I'm talking to him, every company I work for by this point, and for so many years, they know exactly who I am, know extreme amounts of details in most cases. But when I get there, I'm talking to him, and I said, I don't have any sisters that I know of. And he's typing on the computer, and he kind of stays still for a second, and he goes, and he looks at me like I'm supposed to know something. I'm supposed to already prior, and then he looks back at the computer, and then he gets kind of frustrated, like he's maybe angry at something or something that, wait a minute, whatever information that he thinks that he knows it or what's going on, I honestly believe by his actions, if this is Mikayla's brother, something bad happened to Mikayla. Either what I think bad happened, I don't know if it was harassment, I don't know if it was any of this, but I think it had to do with some sort of relationship. Or because it's very common that women, just like I got raped by a transgender, it's very common that happens. Women and men do that behavior. They'll sell women, or they'll corner them. They say, okay, go have sex with him, go screw her. And so they play these sort of not political, but these politics type of crap. And he sort of, and he looks at me, and he goes, and he kind of like looking at me like, and I don't know if he told me, he says, you don't have a sister? I don't think he even said that, but I could tell by looking at him, he was like, and he kind of opens his eyes like, he doesn't know he had a sister. If that was Mikayla's brother. I'm a little bit taller than him, but he's really built, and kind of looked like an athlete a little bit. Sportswear, gear, clothing he's always wearing. So he looks like Mikayla. Like if you look at him, he looks a little bit like Mikayla. Like he could be Mikayla's brother. And he has to take me, I think it was like, okay, next day happens, I go to work, I have to sit down, he tells me, okay, here's your phone, this is what you need to do for today. And he goes, hold on, I'm going to walk with you downstairs and show you what you got to do with whatever car, and drop the keys off, and, do whatever interior, vacuum interior, whatever it is. But as we're walking downstairs, we're walking, and I occasionally have conversations, small talk conversation, and he seemed pretty angry, not angry, like he seemed pretty angry and frustrated, but I don't want to say that it was at me. And I remember him yelling and screaming at me. Like when I first walked in there, I got really scared. I just sat down and I was like, what the fuck's going on? And it's so weird because this is the same guy that I saw many years ago on an Instagram post or YouTube, and I saw him looking, and I want to say he looked like he was in the military, or he was standing in a front row or something, and he looked directly into the camera, and it looked just like him. I don't know if it was him. I mean, it looked just like him. But anyway, we're walking downstairs, shows me whatever stuff, and what was it? I was about to say, I just remembered something. Either he said something, but I don't know. I needed the money. I needed a job. I worked there for 3 weeks, and right before, I don't even know, it was really confused. Oh, okay, so we go downstairs, and then we have to walk back upstairs. But Mikayla, this girl, this transgender, he says, he goes, oh yeah, Mikayla was only there like the 1 or 2 days. 1 or 2 days, the first couple of days that I worked there. And then I didn't see her again. Never saw her again. And, I see this Mikayla, and I just say hello, and keep walking to his office together with him and sit down. And he tells me from his desk, okay, this is what you got to do. And a week goes by after I don't see Mikayla for 2-3 days, because she was there for about 2-3 days. And it was like a week after I didn't see her for a week. And I said, what happened to the other girl? What was her name? Mikayla or something? And he goes, oh yeah, she don't. He goes, yes, Mikayla, yeah, she don't. And he's typing on the computer, and he's looking, and he says, and he's not looking at me. He's typing on the computer, and he says, yeah, she doesn't work here anymore. And he seems like affirmed, like something that he doesn't know, something that happened to Mikayla, or I don't know what the circumstances is, because when you get placed in the public eye and there's all attention, you will have predators all the time, and especially in vulnerable situations. So he goes, yeah, she doesn't work here anymore. I had to let her go. And his expressions is like he's thinking about something. And I asked him, I said, do you have any brothers and sisters? He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah. He goes, no, I don't have any brothers, but no, I got a sister. And he's very affirmed, like, no, I got a sister. He goes, no, he looks at me like this, and he goes, no, and he looks back on the computer screen and goes, no, I got a sister. Like he says it in a way like he's protecting her sister, or something, like, which sounds normal. That means, a sibling, right? But he says it in a way like somebody, or he knew something of something else that happened to her. Somebody sent a bad person or something. I don't know what the drama situation is. And I asked him, I said, my father passed away many years ago. I said, he goes, do you have a father and a mother? He goes, I asked him, I said, you live with your parents? Or I said something, you live with your parents, you got mother, father, whatever. He goes, no. He goes, my father, and he's typing, he goes, no, my father died of my father died of a heart attack. And he goes, he died many years ago. So no, my father died of a heart attack. And he says that his dad died of a heart attack. And I'm thinking, at that time, I don't see anything of it other than he's saying his dad just had a heart attack. But right now that I'm thinking that this is what he said, because I was told that my biological father had a heart attack. I was told that I don't know if it's true or not. I think it could be lying, but my mother's twin told me that it's been a long time that he's died. He died a long time ago of a heart attack. And I don't know if she was interpreting, because I asked her, where's my biological father? Do you know what happened to him? He goes, no, ya se murió. Ya tiene mucho que ya se murió. It's been a long time now. He's been a long time now that he's been dead. He died a long time ago. I don't say anything because I feel like I can't trust the situation entirely truthful. But that's what my mother's twin is saying. He died of a heart attack. But is it to say that maybe it was his father that was the one that died of a heart attack and my biological father's still alive? Because Mikayla and this guy, their ages look very close to each other, within 3 or 4 years apart from each other, no more than that. Maybe a year apart from each other in age, 2 years. Which makes me think that if this guy is, I don't remember his name, first or last name, I don't think he has his Go Curb company there anymore. I mean, I know if I probably went there, it's probably not there. And anyway, I do everything I'm supposed to the best of my ability. Wash all the cars I'm supposed to, dropping off the cars, keeping this clean, drive as careful as I can. I make sure I vacuum, make sure I put the keys in the lockbox and, in the trunk and so on, and make sure to take pictures of the inside and outside of the car, write the odometer reading, and what section of the airport I dropped it off at. And they're all high-end cars. I even drove like an Alfredo or an Alfro, or I can't remember. It's a kind of an oddball sports car. And anyway, and I'm thinking, this guy looks like he could be Mikayla, like Mikayla's brother. Like if you looked at him, he looked like he could be. Mikayla looked taller, is just exactly as tall as him, maybe even an inch taller. So Mikayla was almost my height. But I know this guy was like, he looked like he was 5'6", he was a few inches taller and shorter than me. And, but I'm thinking, is this Mikayla? Is this Mikayla's brother? Because when we walked in, when we're walking in the office after a week working there and she hadn't shown up, and we're walking back in his office, he goes, yeah, Mikayla don't work here anymore. And he was kind of very firm, walking like, my suggestion and what I think it seemed like, thinking of it now, I'm thinking by his body language and expression and everything, someone did targeting something. Like, I don't know what it was. And I don't think anything of it in the moment because I don't know anything about Mikayla. I don't know that I even have a sister. This is before I go to Lawrence Community Shelter and I meet my own half sister who share the same biological father. And like the day before I leave, he just looks at me and goes, yeah, good job, Hector. And he goes, and he keeps typing it. And it's hard for me not to believe, since I don't know this guy and anyone else and everyone knows what I'm doing. And I'm posting on Facebook and Instagram that they know I'm going to a flight to London to support the DMC competition as an attendee. And I don't call him or anything. That was my last day and I don't go back to work or anything. And I don't think they could have tried calling me. Maybe he didn't know that I was going to leave. But I didn't pick up the phone, because I was on my way and I just was there to work a little bit of time, earn some money and leave. I would have continued working there. But when I was working for this company, I was living with this guy by the name of Alex. And he was a Mexican guy. Most mellow, calm guy. He was a gay guy, but he was kind of chubby, Mexican. But he was an American Mexican. Like, he didn't know how to speak Spanish, but he was Mexican. And in this like little small apartment, and he drove this pretty expensive car. Not expensive, kind of like a car like my brother's. I think he was like a Charger. Yeah, I think he drove. It was all black. He was fairly new, and I think he said he worked at Best Buy. Either he worked at Best Buy or something. I think he said he worked at Best Buy when I was in the car with him. Very friendly person. He almost looks exactly like the guy that I met whenever I had right before my murder attempt, when I was 30 years old. And I hit this guy, gosh, I don't know if they were the same person. I want to say I think they were. This is really weird. Like, unless he's a twin, I don't think he is. This Mexican guy I lived with, but he was American Mexican, but he didn't know how to speak Spanish. He seemed pretty like a Mexican guy that was just born American, raised, and educated, but he didn't have a college degree. Like a good kid. Like, he seemed like he was probably a good kid throughout his life. And I recall I end up leaving the company. This is in August. Was it August? No, it was September. I start there in like beginning of September, a week before September, and I leave like 3 days. I quit. I don't go back to work 3 days before my flight leaves to London. This is 2019, and that was it. And I think they tried calling me once or twice, and that was it. Maybe left a voicemail. I don't remember. I think he did try to call, or it said "Go Curb." I don't know if it was the office that was calling from that place. Once I leave, go to the DMC, come back, and then within a year or two, I end up at Lawrence Community Shelter in Lawrence, Kansas. And this is where I meet Mikayla. I don't know if she's my sister. And to me, the expression is that she knew there were some bad people, either also in her group of peers, maybe some friends, or somebody did something to her friends. And I just remember Mikayla keep doing this, and kind of goes and looks and then looks at me for a moment, and then looks like she's looking from the distance. I don't know, there was in the shelter, and she was like getting angry, but not at me. And I don't understand. I don't know what that means. I don't know what. And she's like, oh, sorry, huh? And she does this, and I'm like, I don't know what to, because sometimes, a lot of times people will do shit around me thinking that I interpret, and I don't know what they're talking about. Like, I really do, I try to, try to figure out very quickly what they're talking, but I have no clues a lot of the times, like, what they could be talking about, because I don't know. I guess they're just trying to see what my expression is. End up leaving. But I was there for like 6-7 months. I was there at least probably 7 months. I must say 7 or 8 months. Now, one time she said that because she worked there, one time did she say that I was her brother, and I needed to make this video because I think that was Mikayla's brother. And one of the reasons I think this is Mikayla's brother, also, it made me think, is this guy, one of these black short guys that kind of looks like Floyd Mayweather, body shape, kind of size, and he's like 60 years old. He lives here, and I occasionally talk to him. He drives his motorcycle, little dirt bike, two-wheeler, little tiny gas engine car. I mean, a gas engine, little miniature vehicle. I mean, a motorcycle, like a little, has like, I don't know what you call them. I've never seen anybody ever drive them before, but it's a little tiny, drives it around. But yesterday when I was going to the bathroom, or 2 days ago, he goes in there and I forgot my black and white towel. And I was like, I just got out of the shower and I go in there, and he's already in there as I'm already getting out. I was like, I gotta go get my towel, right? And as I'm going in, he goes, what kind of towel you have? Is it black or is it white? And I think he was talking about Mikayla's brother, like taunting him because he's half black, half white. Like, what side are you taking? And it makes me think why he's saying this. Like, what the fuck? Like, maybe they're after him too. I don't think the guy was straight. I don't think he's. I don't think he was. And it was weird because when I was talking to Mikayla's brother, he'd ask me questions here and there, and he was doing body language tricks or something. Not tricks, but he was. I felt like he was trying to sort of just size me up, or somebody was telling him what to do, maybe, like psychology. And one of the things that I think, this is Mikayla's brother too, is because when we were, so about a month ago, there was a guy that lived here, and he was from Turkey. And when I was talking to him outside, he does this with his feet. He does this with his feet, and he's sitting down, I'm standing up, and he kind of looks over at me, and he does this. He goes, goes, and he takes his sandals off, and he kind of just does this. And he goes like that. For no reason. And I don't know really what to think of it. I kind of just think, well, I don't know, it's just a comfortable, just airing out his feet or something. I don't know. And look at him very quickly, because immediately I think of that's the same maneuver that I saw Mikayla's brother do. Because I was talking to him, he had these same shoes. He had these sort of Native American Indian kind of looking loafer shoes. They're not Native American Indian, but they look like it, but they're like casual business loafers kind of looking. But his shoes were the same shoes that I remember many years ago when I got poisoned nearly half to death with my mother, at my Aunt Nietzsche's house, which is my dad's sister, my Raymond Palomo's sister. And this guy raped my brother, and we were in the house, and I talked about that. Me, Frankie, and my mom got there, and the first thing when we walked in there, this guy was waiting for us. And he was built, and this is the guy that had raped my brother and was trying to get sexual favors, and this is the guy that I was sort of chasing him around in the house, like I was looking for Frankie, and they like ran around the house, and he was like taking Frankie along with him, and they hid in the bathroom, knocked on the door, and I made drawings of this and talked about it before. And then I said, I'm looking for Frankie, do you know where Frankie is? And nobody answered in there, and the guy disappeared, and Frankie was in the bath, and I could tell that guy was in there, and I was like, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. He goes, oh, we're doing something, Hector, we'll leave us alone, or he says something like, I'm busy, Hector, we're working on, he goes, I'm doing something out, we're doing something right now, or he said, I'm doing something right now in the bathroom, and it was just very quiet, like, be quiet, like, or something, like that type of vibe. But I didn't hear this guy, but I know he was in there, because I knew Frankie I was always around Frankie. But his shoes were the same type of shoes that I saw this guy have. That's why I kept on looking at his shoes, because I said, those are the same shoes that this guy wore, I remember. And he looked like he played golf, drove a convertible, kind of preppy looking Native American Indian, Mexican, dark complected guy. Mexican, Native American Indian, very tanned. It looked like he played golf, looked like clean haircut, and he had an OU University. And you know what it makes me think? When I was in the office with this guy at Go Curb, what could be Mikayla's brother, I asked him, I said, did you graduate? He goes, yeah, I graduated from OU. That's what he said. I want to say, I think that's what he said. I can't remember if he did. Maybe he didn't, but I want to say I think he did. I said, did you go to college? He goes, yeah, I graduated from OU. And it makes me think, I'm 41 years old now. This is when I was 30. This is 6 years ago. But I know 100%, I told him, 100% I said, I don't have any sisters that I know of. I have a half-sister, but she lives way on the other side, and they're very much older than me. And my mother and family don't communicate with them. But I don't have any other siblings that I know of, but I'm always getting surprises somehow, because I kind of just say that shrug is because all these, curses of things that are happening around me, it's like, oh, surprise, another bad news, another bad thing. And I want to say he said he graduated from OU. And I'm thinking, this guy looks like he could be related to Mikayla. I don't think Mikayla, when I talked to her, she said her last name was Leeser. I don't think Mikayla, I don't think that could have been her last name. It could have been. I'm not saying it isn't. But that's what the circumstance, because I'm thinking, when you have a child, you can name the child any name you want. Most of the time when a biological father's around, the mother will name him her last name. But unless Mikayla was born and he wasn't in the picture for some reason, or they already broke up. That's why, because Mikayla's mother knocked on my door, and Mikayla was 6 months old, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I got a 6-month-old baby." And she knocked on the door. She goes, "Is he Hector's kid?" And my mother was very willing to talk, like my mother, you know how women are. And she goes, "Oh yeah, it's Hector." And my mother just kind of looked and like, you know how women are in agreement of children. She just kind of thinks. She goes, "Oh okay." And he goes, "Yeah, I have a 6-month-old baby. I just gave birth. She had just given birth to a baby. It was Mikayla's mother." And she seen the vibe and expression seemed frustrated at my biological father, like. And I talked about this. This is around the same exact time when I talked about that my mother and me went to Albertsons and they exchanged numbers. And she said, "Okay, well, we're going to go to Albertsons and I'm going to bring Hector and just walk past me," or something like that. I don't know what they did together to orchestrate this against him, it seemed. This is what they did. And we walk into Albertsons and he walks right past me, my biological father, Mikayla's mother. And my biological father looks at my mother and then he looks at me and he goes, like, this is, and he was, and Mikayla's mother was looking at him like, "Oh, huh? You didn't tell me about him?" Kind of immediately looking at him and just looking at him, "Huh? You didn't tell me about him? You know, you had another child?" And he starts kind of walking in front of her, and you could tell by the way he was expressing, my biological father, like he was angry, like at her. And they left together, and that was pretty much it. But that was right around the time that when Mikayla's mother knocked on the door, came to my house all those years ago. But my mother and her communicated very friendly and very well. And she called the house. She called my house, talked to my mother a few times, and then my mother just didn't want to deal with it anymore. She was like, "No, she didn't want to deal with it." So my mother's from Mexico, tough situations. She has to do what's best. I don't think, in my opinion, but from what I heard in the conversation, had nothing against my mother. But my mother was very willing to talk to her, and they were talking very friendly, and she was like, "Oh yeah," he goes, because they exchanged numbers, say, "I'm going to give you my number, where we're going to go to, and I want to see if he does anything. I want to see if he recognizes." And my biological father didn't say anything to me. He just walked by me and looked at me. And I remember just thinking, I was walking, I was like, "This guy looks exactly like me. He looks just like me." Like, it was very. Never experienced anything like that where I said, "This is my father. This is the guy that I come from. This is the guy that gave the official guy, the straight guy that impregnated my mother. I'm his genetics." He didn't say anything. He walked past by me, and I wasn't heartbroken because I didn't know anything. I'm like 5 years old when this happens. 6 years old, no older than 6 years old, but anywhere from, I don't even know, I'm going to say I was 7 years old. I was like, could have been 7, I would say 5 to 7 years old. Because I remember walking next to my mother, and I was very small. And I just remember just walking and seeing him walk past me, and I didn't feel heartbroken, or I was like, "Why does this guy look exactly like me?" And I felt this vibe that this was my father. I was weird. I don't know if little kids get it sometimes, but I felt this was my father. This is the guy. This is my father. And I remember just walking, and I'm like, nobody told me anything, and then I just kind of went about my way. And I drew pictures of this. I made talking videos about this before, but I wanted to talk about this because it makes me think, okay, so my biological father got cut out of the picture, and that means that his mother must have gotten with a black guy and had this guy, gave Mikayla a brother. Because this guy's Mikayla's brother. I asked him if he had any siblings. He goes, "Yeah, I just have one sister." He goes, yeah, I know. He goes, no, I just got one sister. I got a sister. Like, he said it in a way, no, you're not gonna, you're not. The way that I get it, when I'm sort of looking at the circumstances, he behaves and acts in a way that, no, I got a sister. You're not gonna whore or do bad shit. I got a sister, not your trash. I got a sister. Like, that's how he expressed it. Like, he was honoring his sister, like, but he was like a protector. He was navigating. So I think it's important for me to talk about this, because whatever benefits that this can come from, whoever's a psychologist, whoever it is, it's better to say something than not say something at all. You know, obviously, I know there's had to been a lot of other people. This had to be Mikayla's brother, I think. I'm not to say, I'm 100% sure on this. When I walked in, that front lit girl's name was Mikayla. Mikayla's not a common name. And he very firmly told me, he goes, yeah, Mikayla's the one that works over there. And he said this. I said, yeah, are you talking about Mikayla that works over there? And he does that. Like, he's looking at the TV screen. This is what makes me think. Was she get involved with a guy that was in porno, or did a porno with her, or something of this nature, or something? Because I talked about this many years ago. I was scrolling through porn years ago one day, and I saw this girl that it was Mikayla. I don't know if they use AI. Now, AI, and I know that they were doing this on porn videos, YouTube videos, and Instagram, where they changed the faces of the people, but it was Mikayla. It looked exactly like Mikayla. It was her, and it was with this guy. It was the guy that when I went to the porn convention about 3 years ago in Las Vegas, and I went in there for many different reasons, not for the bad reasons, in my opinion. And I hadn't seen a real woman in a long time, just make eye contact, and a real female instead of nothing but transgenders. And I was walking far in the back. There's another room to the left, big room in an open space, and they have their own convention shit there. And I saw the guy that I saw with Mikayla in the porno video, but he looked strained. Like, he looked like he was having a heart attack, kinda, but he looked very strained. I don't know what was going on, but he was just standing there looking, and he was just like he was. I don't think you could be behaving like that unless you felt sympathetic, or you felt remorse of something bad you did, or felt like you had enough of that. Because he did not look like he was having a good time. He didn't look mad. He just didn't look like he was having a good time. And he was all by himself, just standing there. And this guy's like 6'3", 6'4". And this guy is a really famous porn star. This guy, he's made like 300 videos, and he has like, yeah, you know, he has a fucking 12-inch dong. I mean, he's like a massive, you know, he's like an elephant and shit. I didn't say anything. He's real skinny. And, you know, seeing all these other girls, I'm just kind of going and visiting, but this is the guy that I saw, and this is why I think that when, I don't know if he knows something about it or something, I don't know what, it could be all fake. It could have been somebody just doing an AI video that faked it, and, you know, because they're using the computer screen, and I thought it was Mikayla, and it wasn't. Because I tell you this, I was on Instagram years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was scrolling because I was on Instagram, and Mikayla's picture popped up. It was her. It was Mikayla. It was, without a doubt, it was Mikayla, and she was she was getting a tan near a swimming pool, and had a picture with some sunglasses, and it was Mikayla. And I remember thinking, damn, this girl, I want to say, there was a picture of her with sunglasses, and then maybe a picture she did, because I knew, I was like, man, that girl looks like me. Like, this girl could be related to me. And I remember looking at her feet, and then I remember thinking, wow, that girl's pretty. And I forget about it. But when I went to the Lawrence Community Shelter, I looked at her Mikayla's feet, and it looked exactly like the feet that I saw on the Instagram picture. It looked exactly like 100% it was her. And I don't know. You got to understand that I'm kind of just putting clues, all the information and clues that have been placed, and I don't know what you can make of it, but I'm just making a video on this. And so she ends up, I'm like, right after DMC competition, I think I went to, or it was before that. It was before I was like 34. It was before I got on disability. Whenever I went to Washington, D.C., and I see Mikayla. She says her name is Leeser. Mikayla Leeser, and she's sitting at the front desk in the governor's office. The governor's office. And there's no way that you can walk in there. You cannot walk in there and sit, man, you just can't. This someone, it seemed orchestrated, like, what the heck is going on? And I don't know who she's. My sister, until I want to talk to the governor, she just tells me, yeah, email me and I'll let you know if he is available or whatever. And I don't ever hear anything. But I remember Mikayla looking at the TV screen, at the computer screen, and she goes, and I said it just like this, where she's kind of typing and looking at the computer screen, and she doesn't make eye contact, and I look at it and I try to pronounce her name, and I go, Mikayla? Because I didn't know how to pronounce her name correctly, and I thought that was, and she's just looking at the computer, she goes like that, but she's looking at the screen, she's not looking at me. And I get the sense when I'm looking at pornography or a friend that she had or someone she got involved with, but in her own state of mind, she doesn't tell me anything, right? No vocal words. And then she just does this. Like she kind of lays herself up again, kind of keep herself intact. Her being, she reaffirms herself, right? But when I asked Mikayla, I said, what's your last name? Because when you ask people what's your last name, it's kind of invasive a lot of the times because it makes you think, like, why do you want somebody's last name? So you can look them up on the internet and figure out where they live, or you can profile them, right? Because everyone does that. And she goes, lease her. That's what she tells me, right? And she kind of says it in a sort of kind of attitude a little bit. Kind of like why are you asking my last name? But she knows that I'm her brother. And I don't know this. So I don't know that I have a sister. So I end up leaving, and then at work, I get on disability. I'm 35, work at the Go Curb. And then 2 years later, I'm living at Lawrence Community Shelter, and there's Mikayla. And she said her name again is Mikayla Leeser. And that was it. So, I don't know. People have used AI, so it's kind of very difficult for me to say. I'm not here to make a sister that we share the same biological father. I don't know who this person is. That's the reality of it, okay? It's easy to get too attached to something. You think something. It's like my biological father. A lot of the times, I heard a lot of sort of bad stories that, you want to meet your biological mother, you want to meet your biological father, and it usually turns out to be really bad. Because if you have a lot of money or you don't know the kind of person they were. Specifically with celebrities. And I know there's a lot of notoriety going on in the world that I live in. But I thought it was important for me to at least talk about for a little while. It's worth me talking about. But that was it. So I think it was just Mikayla's brother. Because I had seen this guy before at a grocery store. I think it was at a grocery store one day, and I saw him, and he just came by and he left. And he sort of just looked at me, like acknowledging himself. But he seemed like a very focused person. Like very focused what he was doing. About how he carries himself, he seemed like a very focused individual. Like he likes to be successful and keeps himself clean and intact, and very sort of cardinal personality. Not necessarily crazy, angry, but cardinal sort of. And and anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this because I don't know the circumstances and the reality, what's going on, but yeah, I thought I'd make a video. On this. Was that Mikayla's brother? I think it was. I'm not to say that for some reason I just didn't get this right and it wasn't her brother, but everything led up to make me think that was. But I think it was. There's no way that person that was there for 2 to 3 days, this little tiny looking girl, or little tiny looking transgender brunette, hazel eyes, just like Mikayla, who was a transgender. You could tell by looking, there were a transgender. That was a trans. That there's no way I would walk in there and that person be named Mikayla shows up there for 2 days and doesn't work there anymore. And I worked there for about 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm talking to this guy, and the expressions that there had to have been some knowledge of my sister, like 100%. And let me tell you something, this is going to get even more disturbing, 10 times even more disturbing. Mikayla, you're going to want to know this information. When I was 24 years old, your name, I want to say, I think gets brought up to me. And they know about you. And they know, I think, about Mikayla's brother. This guy, this clean-cut looking guy. He looked like a famous singer, you know, because he had a comb over hairstyle. You see, back in the 50s and 60s, African Americans singers, they always used to do a comb over hair like style. He kind of had it like that, very clean cut. Like he looked like that, and he had like a light colored, like a brownish hair color to his hair, and very light skinned, almost the same skin tone as Mikayla. And so I'm 24 years old, okay? 24 years old. I had just had my transplant, and it was before I started working at Ridgeway's reprographics company. I got a job. I think my first job was when I worked at one of my first jobs, I think it was when I worked at, I got fired from Standard Register, and I found a couple temp service jobs, which was working at J.C. Penney headquarters. They have all these Docutechs. But I want to say, I don't know, I remember the staffing agency, but the staffing agency was called Snelling. I think it was called Snelling Temp Service, and they were really good at finding a lot of temp. They used to have a website. I don't know if they're still in business. No, it was called International Staffing. It was either Snelling International Staffing or International Staffing, either one of the two. But I walk in there, 24 years old, and it's over in near Addison. I want to say it's in Addison, near Clear Channel radio station. And I walk in there, and there's a guy by the name of Derek. And I had a really great conversation with this guy, but when I walk in there, this guy was like very nervous, like he was about to get fired. He was kind of like, it seemed like I need to find some jobs. Like like he was about to get fired or something. I don't know if he seemed like a well-groomed black guy, light-skinned too, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm from Chicago." Now you can look this up. I'm going to say it was International Staffing, but it was either Snelling International or International Staffing, or Snelling Staffing, either one of those. And I worked for them for like a couple of years, off and on, working at J.C. Penney, and I think maybe one other company, but primarily at J.C. Penney headquarters. And so we start talking, and I want to say he picked up the phone, and he said, "Oh, Mikayla," or something like that. And I asked him, and I said, "Do you got?" I said, "Oh yeah, I grew up with two brothers, and yeah, I got half sisters and brothers, but they're, much older than me. They already have their own families." And he's sort of like leaning over, and like he seems like sort of like urgent, like he has to like try to recruit people because he's the impression I got that probably like the management got onto him because he wasn't recruiting, wasn't finding people jobs or something. He wasn't doing anything for the company or something. And his name was Derek. That's 100%. I remember his name was Derek. He said he was from Chicago, originally grew up in Chicago, and he used to listen to a lot of dance music. And I told him, and he goes, "Yeah, I used to DJ." He goes, "Yeah, man, I used to listen to house music all the time too, man." He goes, "All right, man. Well, I'm gonna get you a job. I gotta get you this great place, JCPenney. They'll pay you $15 an hour. They get you a job, man." All right, I was like, "All right." And very friendly, great conversation, no bads in and outs. But when I was sitting in the office, I remember saying to him, he was looking and he goes, "Yeah," he goes, he says, "Yeah, I got a," he goes, "Yeah, I got a son and a daughter." He goes, "Yeah, I go," and you know what strikes me about this as well, that I want to say either his daughter said that her name was Mikayla over the phone, or he said Mikayla over the phone. But the thing that strikes me even more, that this frightening about this situation, that whatever it is that's going on, is that he goes, "Oh, do you go by Emiliano or Hector?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh yeah, I go by my name. I go by my middle name as well." He goes, "Yeah, I do too. I go by my middle name as well." And he's just like pausing, looking at the screen, like there is information that this person knows about my life more than just reading an application and resume, 100%. But the conversation's really friendly, goes really well. There's nothing that she negative necessarily, but this individual knows that I want to say that, because he goes, "Yeah, I go by my middle name as well." And they don't have an office there. I think I don't know if they're still in business, International Staffing, but they were really good at finding a lot of good printing companies, and they always hired me to go work at JCPenney, but paid $15 or $15 an hour to run DocuTech printing. But I thought it was important for me to talk about that. I don't know about this part of it, but I want to say he picked up the phone, or he called and he goes, "Mikayla, I need you." And so these are tactics that people will do in front of me, or people do around other people, to figure out what your reaction is, whether you know who this person is or not. And I think that he could have said, I heard him say, like, and he wasn't paying attention and necessarily looking at me. He goes, "Oh yeah, he calls his family, or says, "Yeah, why don't you get Mikayla to go ahead and drop off this or pick up this," or something like that. I don't know what it was, but I think it's important for me to talk about, because my biological father got mentioned at this International Staffing. I'm going to say it was International Staffing. And I know they International Staffing Company in Addison, or used to be in Addison. They weren't there anymore. I think I went there years after, and this is when I'm like 24. They were there for a couple of years and they left. They only did printing. They only did focus on printing. International Staffing only did like press operators, DocuTechs, bindery, all that stuff. But they only work with printing, and that's all my experience was printing field. Anyway, I thought I would talk about this. Maybe I can go through this memory bank more, and I can think more identify, more certainty, even more than I already feel certain that this was Mikayla's brother. Because listen up about this. This is when I was working there. There was one day that I was following him, and he drove a Corvette. He was driving a Corvette this day, and he goes, "Yeah, I need you to do this. Just follow me, all right?" And so we're driving to these places and get to these locations, and so I'm driving and I'm following him. I guess where he has to drop me off with his car, and I drop off the car and jump in his Corvette, and then I leave. And it's a fairly new Corvette. I don't know if that was his car or not. I want to say I asked him, "Is this your car?" I want to say I don't think he said it's his car. I said, "No, I'm just driving it. It's a customer's." And But anyway, and what was I going to say about this? He's driving a Corvette. We're driving, and yeah, he was driving a Corvette. But man, I thought of something that else was very important to say for what had happened. Oh, after I get dropping off the car, I get in his Corvette. We go to his house. He says, "Hold on, I gotta go to my house real quick, and I gotta go to my house. I forgot something. I gotta go pick it up." And we drive to his house. Drive there. I get out of the car. I think, just hanging out in the driveway, and it's a 2-story house. It looked like a 2-story house. Didn't look like a high end, but it looked pretty expensive. Nice home, but it wasn't like the 2-story brick house necessarily all fancy, but it looked like a pretty nice home. And he gets in his car and opens the garage and he gets some things he needs. And he walks in his house, and I'm out there on the driveway, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes, and then we leave. Was that Mikayla's house? Did he drive me there to see if I knew, to test me if he knew also? Because when I got there, like, he drove me to his house. I mean, you drive to somebody's house, you got to feel pretty comfortable or confident about circumstances, unless you're trying to do something else. And by looking at this guy, he looked like his mom was white and blonde. This is what he, by looking at him, you could just tell by looking at him, because he's half black, half white, but he's very light complected. Appearance, nearly same color eyes as Mikayla, and looked like he could have even some blondish hair even when he was a kid. But and very built. Looked like he worked out a lot. But anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this because I'm thinking, this is Mikayla's house. I don't remember how far we went. There's no way I can remember where this house was ever. Let alone, I might be able to probably over time go back to this Go Curb, and it's probably not there. But this Go Curb company, I tried looking them up on the websites, and I couldn't find owners. It was very mysterious. I couldn't find Go Curb. He said it was just a single company. I don't know. The whole thing seems like it was something else is wiring to what is happening. I don't know what the heck's going on, but anyway, I thought I'd make a video on this, and I was 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago. What's the make of it? Seems like everything else I forgotten. That was kind of the end of it. But I saw Mikayla again. I saw Mikayla at the grocery store when I was home, as I was 34. And I know 100% I saw this guy at Go Curb. I saw this guy. I saw him walking in a grocery store to pick a few things up and leave. Just pick up a couple drinks or pick up a few things and left. Like 1 or 2 items. 3 at most. And he acknowledged me. I mean, there wasn't any doubt in my mind that this person was acknowledging my awareness of being, for some reason, as opposed to when people go to a grocery store, even when they're in a rush, they usually don't pay attention to you, or they're going about their business and you're not their focus. When I saw this guy and he saw me, he seemed very, and when I saw him, honestly, I thought it was more of the gay community. I was like, he must have pissed off another one that I don't know of, that's just in a rage, because I've come across other LGBT community members and gay individuals that they had very aggressive. I didn't know, never met them, I didn't know who they were, and they were very violently expressing themselves toward me. And I didn't know who they were, I never saw them, and I knew it was because they were just dispatching all the, he's talking shit about our gays, he's going to ruin Marco, our gay leader, for my mother. He thinks he's gonna take Jillian on our side. No, Jillian's with the gays like us, and we dominate your mother this way and throw Hector out of the picture, because that was always the focus for so many years, for over like what seems to be a decade, for so long. And the homosexuals, trans, and specifically the gays, sometimes, a lot of the times, would approach me or be very aggressive, and they would be aggressive this way because they would get emotional about something about their patriotic other fellow gay member. And I thought, that's initially when I saw this guy, I don't know who he was, and I didn't remember him when I worked at Go Curve, but I just shrugged it off and kept walked about my business. But when I walked into Go Curve, I didn't recognize him. He kind of looked familiar a little bit, but there was nothing ringing a bell for me to say this is the guy I saw at the grocery store. But I'm 100%, I saw this guy at the grocery store, same thing, you know. And I want to say, when I saw him at the grocery store, it was around the same time that I saw Mikayla at the grocery store. It was around that time. It could have even been the same grocery store. Around the same exact time. It was within a few weeks and few months that when I saw this guy at Go Curve, I saw Mikayla. What does this mean? What am I supposed to make of this? Well, I'm just sharing this video to wherever it may benefit and awareness, and I really can't make anything of it other than just share the video of this. So hopefully this helps whatever, or makes whatever comfort or information or investigation. I don't know, but at least I made a video. So this video's for Mikayla, or I think that could have been her brother. That was her brother. I'm going to say that was. I think it was. But it's not to say maybe it wasn't. So there's not really much I can make of this. I'm still 41, in this position of being homeless, and so many other circumstances that happened. So all I know is I haven't seen Mikayla at all since Lawrence Community Shelter, and that was 4 years ago. I was 37 years old, 37 years old. I was 36 years old, and I turned 37 when I was there. And that was it, and I left. But I told her that I was going to be leaving when I left. I told her I was going to be leaving when I left Lawrence Community Shelter. And I said, I'll be leaving in about a week from now, so I thought I'd just let you know. So anyway, I thought I'd make a video just so that this information is just knowledgeable to whoever it benefits, if it does. So there you go.